left. Really only one that counts, if we're being honest. And yeah, I am starting to experience that pre-World Cup ending sadness. But yeah, it's been amazing. There have been all kinds of montages and let's relive all these great moments. And I will spend a lot of time on the internet and on YouTube firing up all the old highlights of all the games because this was one for the ages.
Yeah, I've just been going through pictures and videos of the games and experiences that I've had. It's been so much fun. As Chris mentioned, the final coming up this Sunday, Argentina, the 6th reigning champion, to reach the World Cup final. They can be the 3rd to run it back in consecutive seasons. Spain, in the meantime, hoping to establish its dominance as both a European and a world powerhouse. La Roja taking a 37-match unbeaten streak into the final. It's the top 2 teams in the World Cup, and as mentioned, it's coming on Sunday. All right, so we're going to lean into the word legendary and legacies in this first segment here, Chris, because there's a lot of legacies on the line. I can think of no better place to start, of course, than Lionel Messi, who already has a legacy of his own. But when you think about just a couple years ago, right at this venue, MetLife, 2016, he was retiring, right? It was a short retirement, but retirement nonetheless. To go from that moment to what he's facing on Sunday, how do you contextualize what his legacy will be?
Well, it's an extraordinary flip because it used to be for a long time, we could say 4 World Cups, that it felt like the weight of the shirt got to him. And now when we talk about the performance they put in against England, it was all about the way that the mentality and their approach with the national team is now their strength. They've completely turned it on its head. We'll talk about Lionel Scaloni later. He's a big part of that. But I think Messi just kind of decided this can't happen anymore. And part of that, and you've heard people say he became a much more vocal leader in the period when they started losing these multiple finals and losing in big games. They lost the World Cup final in 2014 as well. But I think he'd had to, within himself, find the space to, this is no longer about Maradona and about previous generations. This is about what I'm going to do. And he thankfully has the longevity of having played in 6 World Cups to have learned so many lessons and figured out what is the best way to play in this shirt and these colors and for this nation, so that by the time we get to 2026, it's now the team's greatest strength is their experience, what they've done, and this sort of feeling of you can't beat us, where it felt like in previous generations and in previous years that they were among the more beatable teams of the great teams because there just was something that wasn't getting there. It was a team chemistry. It was a mental problem. It was a psychological problem that they just couldn't get over the hurdle of playing in that shirt, and now it's their greatest asset. It's an extraordinary mental flip that they've had to engineer.
Yeah, and you see just all of the things we just showed on that full-screen graphic. In addition to all of the things he's already accomplished, he's also leading the Golden Boot race in this tournament, likely going to win that Golden Ball and the Ballon d'Or, which we'll get to later in the program as well. One thing that you just mentioned is, of course, his manager, Scaloni. He actually played his final World Cup with Argentina in Messi's first year, 2006. And so it's interesting the parallels that those two will have as their careers go on and on. I ask you, Chris, as someone who's watched a lot of football, I mean, who's better than this guy right here? When you think about the accomplishments he's had, 103 games coach for Argentina, all the championships, a World Cup already, a couple of Copas. Is he the pinnacle in your opinion, or where do you rank him?
Yeah, it's kind of staggering. You kind of want to see it in another context. He's only ever been the Argentina manager in terms of a senior role of any kind. He's never managed a club team. He's never managed another national team. He was the interim coach and was kind of thought, well, Scaloni's not going to be the manager, is he? Like, he was this guy who was in the institution. They gave him the interim role after 2018, and is he going to stick around? Is he not? Who knows? And then he's gone and could potentially win multiple World Cups. Look, if he goes on and wins this thing, this is one of the great ever managerial runs, and he absolutely has to go in the annals of history as one of the great coaches of all time. But I think the most important thing that he has done, beyond the mental stuff, which is huge, is I think Argentina struggled for so many years. They had such a glut of players at one particular position, which is usually the center forward position, where they had Agüero, Higuain, Carlos Tevez, all these different players that could play in that role. And so what do you start to do as a manager? Okay, well, how can we get all those players on the field at the same time? Rather than figuring out, and this is exactly what he did, and it took him a while. I'm not going to say it was perfect. Yeah. It took him a while, but in 2022, after they lost to Saudi Arabia, he figured out the right combination of players around Messi. And the right combination of players to say, we're going to make up for all the things that maybe Messi doesn't give, certainly defensively, but we're going to accentuate all the things that you do well with runners, with players that will die for you, including Rodrigo de Paul, sort of most known as being his bodyguard. Yeah. And all these players have figured out the right way to play around him. He is the central force of the team. And I don't think that was necessarily the case, as crazy as that is to say, in previous generations, because they had so much talent in so many other areas. So he figured out the formula, the right way to deploy Argentina, which was seemingly obvious, but he is the only one who really figured it out.
Yeah, speaking to be the second coach to ever win 2 World Cups there, too. So, give him some credit there. You mentioned the relationship that he has with Messi. He also has a special relationship with the manager he'll be coaching against, Luis de la Fuente. They kind of have a bit of an apprentice-esque relationship, if you will. What can you tell us, I guess, in terms of his, Luis de la Fuente's legacy? How does that sort of tie in with Scaloni and his rise?
Yeah, I think ultimately Luis de la Fuente is a product of the Spanish football coaching system and the Spanish football system, which in my view is the best in the world, and I don't think it's particularly close. I think France have an incredible ability to develop players, but from a coaching standpoint and from an identity standpoint, you know when you see that badge that's on the left of your screen, what you're going to get. Spanish football is the same men's, women's, senior, youth. They all play the same way, and De La Fuente is one of these institutionalists that has been around for a while, which is why 10 years ago when Lionel Scaloni was thinking about what he's going to do in the aftermath of his career, Scaloni spent a lot of time playing in Spain. He signed up for coaching lessons. He was like, I'm going to try and learn my trade. I'm going to figure out how I'm going to be a coach at the next level. And he was taking taking lessons from Luis de la Fuente. He was in a classroom with him, leading the way. And a year later, he was coaching Argentina. And so I think that's sort of the extraordinary part of, Scaloni was incredibly shaped by Spanish football. He actually when he first took over the Argentine national team, wanted to mold Argentine football into something different, a bit more European, only to realize what was the right way to do it after some trial and error. But I think when you look at the incredible history between these two, it goes to show that De La Fuente and Spanish football as a whole teach so much of the world. And you even see it, for example, in the women's game, in the NWSL, tons of coaches coming from Spain, tons of Spanish coaches going all the way through the European game on the women's side, on the men's side as well. Spanish philosophy is the #1 way in the world that applies to the national team. It's why they went within their ranks rather than getting some big name to replace Luis Enrique. And it's worked out fabulously. He might win the 2 tournaments that he will have entered. He won the European Championship in 24, might win this World Cup. Yeah,
he has certainly been special. And we continue to show just how special Spain has been over the last couple of years, winning championships. All the guys we have talked about to this point, Chris, are kind of at the, I don't want to say the tail end of their legacy. Messi, certainly. But for a guy like Lamine Yamal, and I told you before we came up, he was 14 the last time this World Cup was played. So obviously so much has changed just in those 4 years. But man, to think that he could be an 18-year-old leading Spain to a world championship on Sunday. How does this start the legacy for Lamine Yamal?
It actually is reminiscent of the players in that photo with him there, Kylian Mbappe, where Mbappe burst onto the scene at Monaco. Sensational player, goes and wins the World Cup in his first time of asking. I will say, though, I do think that Yamal hasn't quite performed as well at this World Cup. He might get all the individual accolades off the back of him. He might win the Ballon d'Or if he has a good game on Sunday. But I think in terms of performance of the tournament, Mbappe was better at his first one. That being said, though, to have come onto the scene at Barcelona as he did. He's been a part of 3 teams already that have won league titles. He's performed well in the Champions League. He has earned the crown of next. He's going to be the next guy. And we just see it consistently for Barcelona. We haven't quite seen it at this tournament, but that being said, it is the perfect way to start a career. And also, he has embraced the pressure and the expectation and wearing the number 10 shirt at Barcelona. He has embraced all of the things that clearly indicate he wants this. He wants to be an all-time great. And what better way to set yourself off towards being an all-time great? Winning multiple titles with Barcelona, has to add the Champions League at some point, and multiple of them, you would say, but also winning multiple trophies, the European Championship and a World Cup with Spain. It is about as well as you can possibly start a career, and he has absolutely earned that moniker of he is on his way to being the next great star of this sport.
And let me come correct, he is 19. He did just have a birthday, last Monday, I believe, so he did just turn 19. So excuse me, that 18 and 19.
He was only 15 in the last World Cup.
Yeah, he's doing some special stuff. We're going to have so much fun on Sunday, so make sure you join us as the whole crew will be out at Pig Beach Barbecue in Astoria, Queens for the final. Morning Footy will be there to start the day, 11 a.m. Eastern, to get you pumped and ready to go. Then the match day gang will step in and pull the curtain closed on the tournament. But they aren't the only ones going to have a good time out there. Marco Messina and Claudia Pagan also out in New York City joining the fans. Make sure you join us Sunday, Pig Beach Barbecue, as the Golazo Network goes live for the final. Time for a quick timeout here on Scoreline. When we come back, taking a closer look at that third-place matchup between England and France.
At the start of every year, I find myself wondering again, constantly questioning life's mysteries. Could I make it in the UFC octagon?
When Jeff Probst asks survivors, ready?
Do they ever want to say no? Has Dexter ever considered meditation? Will Beth and Rip make it last on the new series Dutton Ranch? If not, Rip, call me.
Stream new series and returning favorites, plus huge events.
It's going to be the biggest year yet.
Welcome to the Running Man. The rules are simple. Survive 30 days, but the entire nation is hunting you down.
The grand prize, $1 billion.
Win this game. Change your family's life forever.
Hunt him down!
People will sell you out in a heartbeat.
What is happening?
Welcome to the Running Man.
I'm back. I'm really back.
Why am I here? I'm not dead, right?
Disruption on this campus will not be tolerated.
If I look crazy, it's because that's how I feel. I don't know how to live in two worlds.
There are others. But they're not like us. We need to get out of here. Now. Open your eyes.
Paramount Plus has a mountain of movies. Wow. New movies. Timeless movies. Guys who are running out of time movies. So get in on the latest blockbusters.
Trust me.
And relive the moments that get you every time.
And that's all I have to say about that.
A mountain of movies, now streaming on Paramount Plus.
This is European soccer's biggest stage.
Written in the stars! What a difference she has made!
The question is, can you handle it?
Can you handle it?
The crowd here feels electric. Stream every match of the UEFA Women's Champions League on Paramount Plus.
I lost my dad and my aunt.
What aren't you telling me?
I'll never know what you've gone through, but I'm sure your dad would want you to be happy.
I will not lose the company that my husband started. I want success. Get it for me.
This business will bleed you dry.
Dad, I'm playing on the house's money now.
No, you're playing with the devil's money. What's the plan here?
Gonna blow!
Yeah, well, I'm just getting started.
Landman. All episodes now streaming only on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back to Scoreline, presented by BetMGM. So many football fans were stunned when Spain took down the World Cup favorites France in the semifinals. It was the third straight summer of a France-Spain in a semi, which means we'll see France in South Florida on Saturday. They'll be taking on the fellow European giant in England because, unfortunately, guys, it is not coming home. They were bested by the defending champion Argentina, which means we get the top two teams in the World Cup final for the first time ever. So we're feeling good about the final. Jury's still out on how England fans are approaching this third-place game. Thomas Tuchel kind of digging himself a little bit in a hole. Here's what he had to say before that match coming up on Saturday. Quote, I think ball possession plays a crucial role. It's maybe not in our DNA like it is in the Spanish DNA or Argentinian or Brazilian DNA to take the ball and control the game with the ball. That quote has certainly caused quite the conversation on social media. So, Chris, I would love to get your take on the entire England experience, because as we were talking through and getting ready for this segment, you kind of feel like Tuchel is kind of taking the fall for a lot of what England as a whole should be taking responsibility for.
Yeah, look, I don't think he helped. I think he definitely took the time. You have to remember the sort of situation of the game. They give away the goal or they score the goal, their first goal in the 55th minute of play. He doesn't make a change until the 72nd minute. He has the hydration break in the middle as well to adjust things. And I think what a lot of England fans are rightfully saying is you had the ability to change the direction of play in some way. In some way, can you alter the way that the game was played? Can you throw on more midfield players, more forward players with fresher legs to get pace in behind to control the ball? And ultimately, I don't know if you saw the video today, it was released of they completed 2 passes in 17 minutes or in 20 minutes of play. It's absolutely extraordinary. So Tuchel did not help. Criticizing England as a footballing nation as a German does not help. But I think he is on to something. I do think that England have time after time after time, and we can show some of the figures, time after time after time, recede. The players don't want to make a mistake. I heard Andros Townsend, the former Tottenham player, say this. Well, your first thought as a player is, I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to be the one who takes the fall. And that's all 11 players on the pitch. They don't want to be the one who takes the blame. And ultimately, you are never going to win anything like that. You cannot get to a final. You cannot play 3 group stage games and 5 knockout round games thinking, I just can't make a mistake. You have to go do something. You have to go get on the ball. Someone in that team has to shout to everyone, we're going to have the ball. We're going to take the ball off of Messi or take the ball off of DePaul or take the ball off of Enzo Fernandez, and we're going to go do something. The players have to do that. The manager can scream it as much as he wants. He screamed it at halftime of the first game that they played against Croatia. He said it after the Norway game. The performance wasn't good enough. He has been signaling that he wants more from this team. They just weren't able to deliver. And I think that is some of the fault of the players. The problem is in blame culture, you want to blame one player. And no one individual player is really responsible for that happening.
I want you to take a look at some recent results for England here, because we're going to get into the conversation of whether or not Tuchel is the guy going forward. And I mentioned it, right? It's never coming home. Is it coming home? We'll see. I mean, Chris, when you look at all of England in major tournaments as of late, these are some big name teams. What do you make of the results? And with that, is Tuchel the guy to lead them through all of this?
And it's not just big-name teams. It's the length of time, the number of coaches, the variety of coaches, the variety of players, and great England teams. Euro 96 at home. They score in the 3rd minute. They lose on penalties. Argentina in 98 at the World Cup. They score in the 9th and the 16th minute. They lose on penalties. They led Brazil 1-0 in 2002. That was in the 23rd minute. They led Portugal in 2004 in the 3rd minute. They led Iceland in the 4th minute. They led Croatia in the 5th minute. They led Italy in the 2nd minute. They know how to score early. They just don't know how to hang on to leads. And so you can say that what happened is a Thomas Tuchel problem. But then you're saying it was also a Fabio Capello, a Roy Hodgson, a Gareth Southgate, a Sven-Göran Eriksson, and on and on and on, that it's always the fault of the manager. It can't just be the fault of the manager. It has to also be that there is something in the DNA, to use Thomas Tuchel's word, the DNA of English football, that what you are told from a young age is, when you have a lead, we protect it. And it's not about going and being proactive. It's about protecting and not making a mistake and cowering in fear. It seems to me, I'm not English, from analyzing English football, from analyzing the English mentality, that there is a fear of winning rather than this idea of let's go and do something. Let's go be bold and brave. All 11 players, the nation. Yeah, if we lose, we'll get hammered at home. If you screw up individual, you will get hammered at home. It doesn't matter about the newspaper headlines. It doesn't matter about what they say on social media or on Talk Sport or wherever. It doesn't matter. It's about, can we be brave enough to go and do something? And that is about getting on the ball, about being aggressive in the press, about making aggressive front-minded changes from a managerial point of view. That's why Tuchel gets his share of the blame, but it's not just him. Because if it were just him, that series of results that happens over 30 years, 8 times in knockout games, they led and lost. 8 times. That is a trend, a historical trend that is not just about one manager, one player. It is a systemic problem. And I think it's between the ears.
All right, I'm going to take that soapbox away from you now that we are done with that. But I agree, and it's interesting, too, the team that knocked them out has a different mindset, right? Argentina is like, okay, in the 90th minute, we're turning up. That's where they kind of thrive. So it's interesting, just the different dynamics, DNA, to take that word from Tuchel back. What about France? Obviously, there's a lot of layers going into this third-place game. You've got the Deschamps angle of it all and playing or coaching in his last game there with France. But it's almost like, do you wish maybe a little bit more given the quality that he's coached over 14 years?
Yeah, look, you go back to Euro 2016 when they were at home. It was a home final. They could easily have won that, but I don't think that team was this. There has been an extraordinary development of French talent. And the one feeling that I've had through all of it, they won the World Cup in 2018. They were very good in that tournament, dominated that final. But even in 2022, when they lost the final, to Argentina, everyone remembers that game as being close. I don't remember that game as being close. That game was an Argentina demolition of France for 80 minutes. Then Mbappe scores in the 80th and the 81st, and then we're off and running. But for the lion's share of that game,
it's recency bias, you remember.
They got beaten. They got beaten pretty soundly. They got beaten pretty soundly in the 2024 semifinal by Spain. They got beaten pretty soundly in the 2026 semifinal by Spain. And so I think that is where coaching and systems make up a difference. I think France have had the best group of players at the last 3 international tournaments that they've entered, and I haven't seen a style of football that is commensurate with that. I haven't seen France look like, wow, isn't this team, they're explosive. They have great bursts over 15, 20 minutes, but over the course of 90, it seems like they're keeping something in the tank. It seems like they're about defensive balance. It doesn't seem like they're a team that can really fully control the game against the very best teams, which is ultimately what we're measuring them up against. It's a very harsh standard. And I think as well, one of the things that can sometimes be forgotten is the managing of personalities, which Deschamps has really excelled at in his time in France. But my overall perspective on France is, even when they have succeeded, I've always felt they could do more and do better. Yeah. And I wonder if Zinedine Zidane, who's likely going to take over, is capable of doing the thing that maybe Deschamps couldn't.
He is one of 3 managers to both win as a player and a coach. And how about this? An awesome note from our research team. His playing career ended against England, and now his coaching career with France will also end against England there. So we love a little full circle moment there. We look forward to that third place match coming up on Saturday. We got more of Scoreline coming up. Woody's got a special list coming up. Underachievers next.
At the start of every year, I find myself wondering again, constantly questioning life's mysteries. Could I make it in the UFC octagon?
When Jeff Probst asks survivors, ready?
Do they ever want to say no? Has Dexter ever considered meditation? Will Beth and Rip make it last on the new series Dutton Ranch? If not, Rip, call me.
Stream new series and returning favorites, plus huge events.
It's going to be the biggest year yet.
Welcome to the Running Man. The rules are simple. Survive 30 days. But the entire nation is hunting you down.
The grand prize, $1 billion!
Win this game. Change your family's life forever.
Hunt him down!
People will sell you out in a heartbeat.
What is happening?
Welcome to the Running Man.
I'm back. I'm really back.
Why am I here? I'm not dead, right?
Disruption on this campus will not be tolerated.
If I look crazy, it's because that's how I feel. I don't know how to live in 2 worlds.
There are others. But they're not like us. We need to get out of here now.
Open your eyes.
Paramount Plus has a mountain of movies. Wow. New movies. Timeless movies. Guys who are running out of time movies. So get in on the latest blockbusters.
Trust me.
And we live the moments that get you every time.
And that's all I have to say about that.
A mountain of movies, now streaming on Paramount Plus.
This is European soccer's biggest stage.
Written in the stars! What a difference she has made!
The question is, can you handle it?
Tell me, can you handle it?
The crowd here feels electric. Stream every match of the UEFA Women's Champions League on Paramount Plus.
I lost my dad and my aunt.
What aren't you telling me?
I'll never know what you've gone through, but I'm sure your dad will want you to be happy.
I will not lose the company that my husband started. I want success. Get it for me.
This business will bleed you dry.
Dad, I'm playing on the house's money now.
No, you're playing with the devil's money.
what's the plan here?
Gonna blow!
Yeah, well, I'm just getting started.
Landman. All episodes now streaming only on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back to Scoreline, presented by BetMGM. 2026 was the largest World Cup ever. We expanded from 32 to 48 teams this year. It led to more games than ever. And for the first time in World Cup history, neither Germany or Brazil reached the quarterfinals. A lot of moments to take you through as you look at the full bracket going back to the round of 32. We had Paraguay defeating Germany on PKs, Brazil losing to Norway as well. We also have Spain and Argentina, the final two teams left standing for that final, which is happening out in New York, New Jersey. That's where we can find our Nico Cantor and a very special guest, dare I say a Carney legend. Let's hear more from the guys.
Haley, thanks. Well, we're in Kearney, New Jersey, soccer town, USA, that has produced the likes of Tab Ramos, John Harkes, and of course, Tony Miola. Tone, my man, how you doing?
I'm excited you got to see where I grew up, man. It's pretty cool for me to show somebody.
Yeah, I mean, you guys will see it in the doc that's dropping in the next couple of weeks after the World Cup is done. But this is one of the hotbeds of soccer in America, and that's right here before the final here in New Jersey, just a couple of miles away. We decided to explore a little bit of this. How's it been, Tone, in the ramp up to the World Cup final here in New Jersey?
Well, this town's been crazed, right? If you think about the demographics of this town, a lot of Scottish people here. We were down the Scots Club, right, and we saw what that looks like. The Tartan Army was down there, right, and drank all that beer too, by the way. And of course, a big Portuguese population here, and a lot of Cristiano Ronaldo fans in this town. Of course, not thrilled with the way it ended for them, but certainly a supportive group, and that's kind of what this town's been built around. First generation, second generation, coming from Europe, coming from South America. You've seen it in the town. Everyone in this town knows a little bit something about the game, right? So this World Cup was really special for us.
A proper soccer community here in Kearney, USA, Soccer Town, USA. This is the Hall of Fame. We're at your high school, Tony.
Yeah.
And you get this recognition, a big spot amongst this incredible mural of so many athletes that have come through these doors. This is amazing.
Yeah, it's good real estate here, right in the middle. But you can see here, there's such a rich tradition here. I'm a part of it. And there were people before me, there are people after me, and there will be more people from Kearney that will eventually continue down this wall here. But this is pretty cool to get the recognition. The school means a lot to me. It's meant a lot to me for a long time. It did a lot for me growing up. It molded me in so many ways, you know.
Yeah.
And this is not the easiest town. Wasn't the easiest town to grow up in, right? Because you were on your own for quite a bit. Most families here had two parents that worked till 6 o'clock at night. You had to find your way around everywhere. Kind of an old school type of feel to it. But I think those things molded a lot of these players and so many more of my friends that are on this wall here. So yeah, this is really cool. I'm pretty honored. You know, the red and black of this school means a lot to me. It always has, and I've always worn it with pride and talked about it with pride.
That's awesome, Tone. I love this for you. This is an incredible recognition amongst all of the other recognitions in your career. And I'm glad I got to see a little window into your life. But speaking of World Cup goalkeeper, I want to ask you about the goalkeepers in the World Cup final. Talk to me about the matchup between Unai Simon and Dibu Martinez.
Well, they have been great throughout the World Cup, right? Unai Simon hasn't faced a lot, which I think is one of the most difficult parts about being a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Going into the last match, he had only made 7 saves in the entire competition. But I like him. Steady, calming factor. And on the other side, you got Dibu, right?
Yeah.
Who is the man-made, if there's any goalkeeper right now made for special moments, it's him, right? And of course, Argentina wins the World Cup in 2022, and we applauded them, and you applauded them, but it doesn't happen without Dibu Martinez and the kick save at the end, right? He's a guy about moments, and I think it's a fascinating matchup of two completely different goalkeepers, really good shot stoppers. One's Unai Simon's a little calmer in the way he goes about his business. Dibu Martinez is more in your face about the way he goes about his business, but they both get the job done.
Yeah, funny enough, you know, Luis de la Fuente has stuck to his guns with Unai Simon because he could have started 2 other goalkeepers that probably would start on many national teams around the world, but Unai Simon has always been his guy. And there were questions about Dibu Martinez, who has conceded a decent amount already at this World Cup. Perhaps that he's slow or not, but if there's a goalkeeper that you want in net, it's him. So both of these goalkeepers, to a certain extent, have been showing a little bit of resilience to be here.
Yeah, Simon especially had to battle David Raya, right? Because in the season he had, I think there's been some discussion about, why hasn't David Raya even got some minutes in this competition? Right. I don't think you can make that change, right? But he's been really steady. The receptions in the air against France, the way he came out of the box, commanded his box, all that stuff, he was really calm. Broke the record now, right, for most shutouts in the World Cup, which is a big thing. On the other end, though, even though Dibu Martinez has given up goals, like if there's one guy that you would say in this World Cup, I need a guy to make like one big save in the moment where I really, really need a save, he'd probably be a guy that most people would vote for, right, as that guy, regardless of the number of goals that he's given up. So that's kind of where we are right now with these two guys. It's going to be a fun one.
Not daunted by the stage whatsoever.
No, not at all.
Meanwhile, Unai Simon is playing, of course, in his first World Cup final along with all of his other teammates from Spain as they match up against Argentina here in New Jersey in just a couple days' time.
Nico, Tony, thank you. Underappreciated moment about that photo is Tony's ponytail. I will never not appreciate Tony's ponytail from back in the day there. Back here with Chris Rittingham, I'm Haley Sutton. And Chris, we're going to kind of do things a little bit different. We're so used to talking about the star players and the ones that stand out in the tournament. You got kind of a remix list here. We're talking underappreciated players. So we're going to go position by position. I'm going to step out of the way and let you go. We're starting with goalkeepers.
Yeah, I don't think I picked a single player that is appearing in either the final or the semifinal. So we'll go line by line. I thought of the goalkeepers that stood out, and there were many in this tournament, I went for Gregor Kobel of Switzerland as the goalkeeper that I thought was the best. He had a couple of huge moments, particularly in the knockout round against Canada and in the group stage against Canada, and then even in the knockout round against Colombia in that penalty shootout as well. I thought he anchored a really strong defense, so I'd go for him as my underappreciated goalkeeper. Moving then into the back four, I know it's kind of easy to forget that the U.S. was pretty good up until the last 16, but I thought Alex Freeman was one of those players that earned the moniker of underappreciated. I thought the way that he anchored that back three, defended out in space, but then tucked in, passed the ball well, controlled the ball well off the dribble as well. In terms of the two center backs, I guess there is one semifinalist that I included, and that was Saliba of Arsenal, who I think was outstanding in this tournament. And I think he can sometimes be forgotten because of the amount of time that we spend talking about the French attackers, that the defenders are usually very good, and that things turned for France when he came out of the game. I thought Renato Veiga of Portugal, I think, was one of the players that emerged as a genuine starter for Portugal at a position where I think they needed to have someone step up next to Ruben Diaz. I thought he did the job. And then Arthur Masuaku of the DR Congo story was absolutely sensational. I love the way that he performed and kind of led that back five, which is such a key part of what they did in frustrating England, in frustrating Portugal, and getting into the knockout round. So I went for Masuaku as my left back. In terms of central midfield, Patrick Berg is one of the players that I picked because I saw him in person. I saw him against England, and he was one of those where I'm like, man, every time he touches the ball, he just doesn't do anything wrong. Fantastic player. We saw him throughout the Champions League, getting to the last 16 with Bodo Glimt, and just one of those class midfield players. I hope someone, well, I want him to say Bodo Glimt because they're amazing.
I think Bodo Glimt
I think he actually has the ceiling to go to other places. Unahi of Morocco, I thought was absolutely fantastic throughout this tournament. And then my third choice was Andres Cubas, who does play in MLS for Vancouver Whitecaps and Paraguay after they got the hammering at the hands of the United States. In their first game of the group, they needed to step up. You go back to that second game that they play against Turkey. They have the Miguel Almiron sending off for covering of the mouth. You play for 50 minutes down a man, and Cubas is the one leading the way in that midfield for Paraguay. They were a team that defensively had to withstand things. So I've gone for him as third midfielder, underappreciated. Julian Quinones, he was the star of the tournament for Mexico, but I still think in the overall was probably one of these players that might have been forgotten about because of the stage at which they exited. Just an audacious player, a kind of player that you don't really see very much in the modern game. He's not about sideways possession and about creating chances and whites of the crossbar, smashing that thing towards goal, and that's what he did over and over again. Brian Brobby, I thought, becomes a little bit underappreciated because I thought he fulfilled the role of center forward well for the Netherlands. And then this is a player, Hassem Hassan of Egypt. We saw him really stand out in that Argentina game, and I'm going, where has this guy come from?
Yeah.
And he was one of those that absolutely burst onto the scene. I thought was absolutely fantastic for Egypt in their run to the last 16, coming ever so close to the quarterfinal as well, going 2-0 down to Argentina. But he was great in that game and great in this tournament, so I've gone for him down that right side.
I originally, when you put this out, my heart was like, yes, Saliba because of the Arsenal connection. Yes, Freeman because of America. My favorite player on this entire list, though, is right here, Quinones. What a World Cup he had. Every single goal he scored was an absolute banger. I'm not mad at it. If I had to put you on the spot and say manager, do you have one off the top of your head?
Ooh, underappreciated manager.
Yeah, I know. It's on the spot.
Yeah, I would probably honestly go for the Egypt head coach, who I thought did a brilliant job of getting that team to the brink, and obviously feels aggrieved and has every right to after what happened in that game. But yeah, I'd probably go for the Egypt manager, who I thought really managed the tournament well for them. Honestly, as well, give a lot of credit to Norway's coach, Solbakken, who I'm only frustrated that he continued to pick Alexander Sorloth. I was very frustrated with that throughout the tournament. But yeah, I'd probably say Egypt's coach.
Okay, there you go. We're good on your feet, too. That was kind of sprung that one on you. Chris Whittingham's most underappreciated starting 11 in this year's World Cup. We got more to talk about on Scoreline coming up. We're taking things to the USL. We got a big championship game coming up on Saturday. Devin Kerr's got the latest.
At the start of every year, I find myself wondering again, constantly questioning life's mysteries. Could I make it in the UFC octagon?
When Jeff Probst asks survivors, ready?
Do they ever want to say no? Has Dexter ever considered meditation? Will Beth and Rip make it last on the new series Dutton Ranch? If not, Rip, call me.
Stream new series and returning favorites, plus huge events.
It's going to be the biggest year yet.
Welcome to the Running Man. The rules are simple. Survive 30 days. But the entire nation is hunting you down.
The grand prize, $1 billion.
Win this game. Change your family's life forever.
Hunt him down!
People will sell you out in a heartbeat.
What is happening?
Welcome to the Running Man.
I'm back. I'm really back.
Why am I here? I'm not dead, right?
Disruption on this campus will not be tolerated.
If I look crazy, it's because that's how I feel. I don't know how to live in two worlds.
There are others. But they're not like us. We need to get out of here now. Open your eyes.
Paramount Plus has a mountain of movies. Wow. New movies. Timeless movies. Guys who are running out of time movies. So get in on the latest blockbusters.
Trust me.
And relive the moments that get you every time.
And that's all I have to say about that.
A mountain of movies, now streaming on Paramount Plus.
This is European soccer's biggest stage.
Written in the stars! What a difference she has made!
The question is, can you handle it? Tell me, can you handle it? The crowd here feels electric. Stream every match of the UEFA Women's Champions League on Paramount Plus.
I lost my dad and my aunt.
What aren't you telling me?
I'll never know what you've gone through, but I'm sure your dad will want you to be happy.
Not lose the company that my husband started. I want success. Get it for me.
This business will bleed you dry.
Dad, I'm playing on the house's money now.
No, you're playing with the devil's money. What's the plan here?
Gonna blow!
Yeah, well, I'm just getting started.
Landman. All episodes now streaming only on Paramount Plus.
Pittsburgh Riverhounds holds the crown in the USL Championship. Back across frame, diving header. That is dazzling. Charles Zoll, and he gave that the lot. Last account, the breakthrough Pittsburgh was looking for.
Team were looking for it. A beautiful set, an even better finish. Galena into the middle. There's the equalizer from guess who? Guess who? Jansen Wilson trying to pounce on it, and they immediately do through Chris Donovan. Then Wilson scores on the follow-up. Finally a breakthrough for Louisville City.
Week 20 in the USL Championship continues on CBS this Saturday. The Pittsburgh Riverhounds taking on Louisville City. live at the FNB Stadium, 12 o'clock Eastern. Second meeting between these two this season. The home side has been the one to dominate there. Louisville City forward Chris Donovan saying the national exposure certainly going to be a big one for two, dare I say, contenders in the championship this year. What do I know? I know a guy who knows a thing or two about the USL Championship. Devin Kerr, our correspondent, joining us live on the scene here in Pittsburgh.
Haley, my fist is up. The trains are in the background.
I know,
we saw the trains in the build-up. They're there. Devin, that's amazing.
Devin.
I did the best to bring some atmosphere, right? You're welcome.
Look at you. This shot looks amazing. Obviously, we're expecting a hyped-up atmosphere as well. Two teams, as mentioned, that are contenders, 4 versus 7. Walk us through what fans can expect coming up in Saturday's game.
The rivalry's real. You know, the standard bearers of the USL Championship and Louisville City are always up for the cause, but they've been a little bit off recently. They hit a midseason slump, only 1 win in 7. They lost 4 straight league games for just the 3rd time in organization history. And now they're 6 games unbeaten. All is right in the world. There's real balance within the group. Defensively, they're starting to gain confidence. And you talked about Chris Donovan. All of a sudden, they're finding goals from the 9. But I'm very interested in this Pittsburgh Riverhounds team. The whole talk after they won the title last year was about head coach Rob Vincent making more of an impact on the attack. That hasn't played out just yet. Tied for the 3rd least amount of goals in the entire USL Championship, and most of it is about unavailability of personnel. They try and work through the midfield, 2-3 guys unavailable. Albert Dequa was suspended. Trevor Ammon unavailable due to injury. But the patterns are there, just waiting for this team to be more effective. It's sort of the opposites collide. Louisville can score right now. Pittsburgh can defend. In theory, something's got to give.
Devin, I'm quite sad that the train, it seems like the last one has gone over your shoulder. Farewell, train. But one of the peculiarities of this rivalry, they've been playing this rivalry since 2015, and Louisville have yet to lose in Pittsburgh. 12 games, 7 wins, and 5 draws in the overall. What is to explain this? This seems like quite a bizarre fact.
Well, there's the back and forth nature, number one, that you've got the last 3 Players' Shield winners. That's the regular season champion in USL play that are going to be on the field tomorrow. Pittsburgh in 23, Louisville in 24-25. The way that they went about it were very different in nature. 23 and 24 for Pittsburgh and Louisville were both defensive-minded, and then 25 at Unleashed for Louisville City, and what is still the best team that I've ever seen. You have to go back even further, though, to when Louisville opened Lynn Family Stadium in 2020. They had a tarnish right away because the Pittsburgh Riverhounds walked into their house and smacked them around 3-1. Speedy Williams gets the opening goal, and then the Riverhounds hit 3 in a row. But to your point, it has been very much a big brother, little brother. This location in Pittsburgh is one of the most difficult places to play in all the championship. Pittsburgh can get hot and humid. It can also be cold. The turf causes issues. Defensively, it's been a stalwart. And yet Louisville has always walked in here and always walked out the victor. That's because of confidence, and it's also because of belief that, as I mentioned earlier, is a little bit shaky. They're in good form right now, but for some reason, when they come here, they feel like they cannot lose.
You talked a little bit about for Louisville City, the coaching change, right? You talked about the 6-match unbeaten streak. There's a coaching change that has come because of that, I guess is the point I'm trying to say. Both of these programs, though, have had new-ish managers, one appointed in December of 25, one in March of this year. Talk to me about how the managerial changes on either side have impacted this rivalry this year.
Interim head coach Simon Bird said immediately after Danny Cruz's departure to MLS that he wanted to give more ideas in the final third. And a lot of that was about ball retention. Louisville City under Danny Cruz was a little bit more quick fire in nature. They controlled proceedings, absolutely, but they were comfortable about the ball. Simon Bird has been very clear that he wants to have the ball higher up on the pitch and he wants to make teams work more. We saw that immediately, but opposition changed. They have struggled against better opposition. Only 2 wins in league play on the season against teams that are currently above the playoff line. I would be very clear to point out that although they've struggled for results overall, they have been decimated with injuries. And they've had to navigate not only Open Cup and USL Championship regular season play, but also Frank's Tires USL Cup. So squad selection hasn't been at a premium. Funny how now all of a sudden he's got his first choice players and they're 6 games unbeaten. I would be also remiss if I didn't mention that the character of championship pedigree that is a bit amiss from previous seasons. There are only 6 players that remain, from the last time this Lou City team made it to a title game in 2022. Only 4 starters. So the idea that we can anytime we want, well, certainly that has reigned supreme against the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. That has not necessarily been the case in championship play overall. So they need leaders to step up and get confidence going once again. Rob Vincent is a very different conversation. Only 1 goal in their final 5 games, and yet they managed to win in penalties. They managed to put a star above their crest, and they managed to have a very active transfer market. Sam Bassett in the midfield is going to be a big one once they get him healthy. But I lean on guys like Robbie Mertz and Danny Griffin that as the identity starts to change, you still have to maintain that particular, I should say, DNA that has been defensive-minded. Bob Lilly started it in 2018. They once again are very good on the negative side of the ball. And so the continued growth over the course of the season is something that you will see on the attacking end. Listen, you're Louisville City. We talk about lack of form. They won their Prince Tires USL group. They are 4th in the Eastern Conference, occupying the last home playoff spot. And for all the ups and downs that have been the Pittsburgh Riverhounds against lower opposition, they are 4-2-2 against better teams going to postseason currently, and are within a sniffing chance of grabbing that final home playoff spot in the East.
Devin, we've been talking so much about the World Cup throughout the last month and change, and when people ask me, well, what can I do now? I always say, go to whatever is closest to you. Go to your local soccer team, and for a lot of people, a lot of markets, that team is a USL team. Would you make the sales pitch to those people who might live in Pittsburgh or in Louisville or in Indianapolis to say, I want to go out and watch my local team because I feel the connection to it? What is the connection between the clubs and their local markets?
I hope we're recording this because I'm agreeing with Chris Whittingham. Obviously, that's a first. So, yeah, 100%. Listen, you know, the idea that, and this isn't a knock on any single league or level, the idea that the game can only exist in major media markets is insane. Any single sport will tell you that you have to thrive in every market. That doesn't necessarily mean at the top level. There is a world where different organizations at different divisions are able to coexist. That's where USL comes in. You're going to have the establishment of USL Premier, their first division in 2028. You're then going to have ProRel, which is going to start with 2 different tables, and we'll see where it goes from there. You need to capture the hearts, the emotion that we've seen over the past month that is going to culminate on Sunday in the World Cup final, yes, between Spain and Argentina. But the relatability factor, we see a lot of that within college football. I kind of like that idea about maybe not necessarily a major media market, but instead the passion, the culture, that's the buzzword that is thrown around, the ability to create memories over and over, not just within the community, but into the family. And then it starts to pass down through generations. It doesn't become a trend. It is a staple within the organization, within that league, and most importantly, within the hearts of the supporters that follow these great organizations, again, at every single level in this country. This isn't a possibility to be able to grow this game. This is a necessity. Pay for play, all that, it does not matter unless you get into every major market, and you have to do it now.
There's over 20 championship teams to choose from, so there's no excuse at this point. We were recording, by the way, Devin, so appreciate the agreement.
Yes, I've got that saved forevermore. Chris Whittingham was right. Loved it.
Devin, great to see you. Thanks so much for hopping on Scoreline. Enjoy the action on Saturday.
Thanks, team. Going to catch the next train out of here.
Yeah, go get on that train. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're taking a closer look at the Ballon d'Or. Oh, how things have changed since the beginning of the World Cup.
At the start of every year, I find myself wondering again, constantly questioning life's mysteries. Could I make it in the UFC octagon?
When Jeff Probst asks survivors, ready?
Do they ever want to say no? Has Dexter ever considered meditation? Will Beth and Rip make it last on the new series Dutton Ranch? If not, Rip, call me.
Stream new series and returning favorites, plus huge events.
It's going to be the biggest year yet.
Welcome to the Running Man. The rules are simple. Survive 30 days. But the entire nation is hunting you down.
The grand prize, $1 billion!
Win this game. Change your family's life forever.
Hunt him down!
People will sell you out in a heartbeat.
What is happening?
Welcome to the Running Man.
I'm back. I'm really back.
Why am I here? I'm not dead, right?
Disruption on this campus will not be tolerated.
If I look crazy, it's because that's how I feel. I don't know how to live in two worlds.
There are others. But they're not like us. We need to get out of here. Now. Open your eyes.
Paramount Plus has a mountain of movies. Wow. New movies. Timeless movies. Guys who are running out of time movies. So get in on the latest blockbusters.
Trust me.
And relive the moments that get you every time.
And that's all I have to say about that.
A mountain of movies, now streaming on Paramount Plus.
This is European soccer's biggest stage.
Written in the stars! What a difference she has made!
The question is, can you handle it?
Can you handle it?
The crowd here feels electric. Stream every match of the UEFA Women's Champions League on Paramount Plus.
I lost my dad and my aunt.
What aren't you telling me?
I'll never know what you've gone through, but I'm sure your dad will want you to be happy.
I will not lose the company that my husband started. I want success. Get it for me.
This business will bleed you dry.
Dad, I'm playing on the house's money now.
No, you're playing with the devil's money. What's the plan here?
Gonna blow!
Yeah, well, I'm just getting started.
Landman. All episodes now streaming only on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back to Scoreline 48 Nations, presented by BetMGM. Haley Sutton, Chris Whittingham. Chris, obviously we are counting down to the World Cup final on Sunday, but we're also kind of looking ahead to one of the most prestigious awards in all of football, the Ballon d'Or. It will be given out in October. You had some thoughts about how the Ballon d'Or process and the voting and the rankings would go. We want to take you back to June 2nd when you put out your initial Ballon d'Or rankings, because they look a lot different, and we'll get into it in just a moment.
Yeah.
But here, June 2nd, this is where your mind was going. Michael Olise, for you, was the favorite. No Lionel Messi on this list at all. Kind of different from how we're looking at it right now, though.
Yeah, I think this was meant to capture a moment in time, because the World Cup does play such a big role in what we think of the award. I wanted to kind of capture where I was going into the tournament and before what I think ultimately are overvalued and overweighted games in the spectrum of, again, this is a period from August 1st to July 31st they were meant to take into account, but it seems like it's really only the dates of the World Cup that matter the most. So I wanted to see where I was. Olise, Vitinha, Kane, Kvaratskhelia, and Rice were my top five at that time.
I just said it. I'm going to keep pushing the Arsenal agenda there. We love when an Arsenal player is represented. So as mentioned, a lot has changed in the 45 days since we put out this list from you. So let's talk through how it's changed. You're going to go 1 through 10. We're actually going to start with number 10 on your Ballon d'Or rankings right now.
Yeah, so I went for Ousmane Dembele, who was number 6 in my previous ranking. I think he was probably a bit overvalued coming out of the club season. And I think when you talk about the Ballon d'Or, I think it is about rising to the level of being the best player on the best team. And I think for even as well as at times he played really well in that third group stage game for France against Norway, but they had made all those changes and ultimately the game proved to be inconsequential. Ultimately, there were other players on France, namely Kylian Mbappe, that most led the way. So because other players had some great World Cups, I had to drop him down a few spots.
He did win it last time out, so he's got one in his closet. Let's let someone else jump in, maybe tell that to Messi. We go to number 9 here. It's interesting, Jude Bellingham here, maybe not the only Englishman on this list. We'll get to that in a minute, but no, what do you like about Jude?
And if you look at the odds, Bellingham is actually rated much higher. But again, this is overvaluing of the World Cup, in my judgment. I think when you look at his club season, he finished on 8 goals and 5 assists, albeit in a non-functioning Real Madrid team where he's not the main star, but he did not have a good club season. And so, yes, he had an absolutely spectacular World Cup. If they went on to win it, he probably would be up towards top 3, maybe even number 1 if they go on to win it because of how good he was in this World World Cup. But if we're taking the full 12-month calendar period into account, I think Jude is at number 9 and probably quite deserving of being in that position because I just don't think he had a good enough club season.
Yeah, it did have a great World Cup, but you got to balance the entire year, the entire season. We go to number 8, a guy who was a little bit higher on the list come June 2nd. Vitinha here at number 8.
Yeah, Vitinha is one of those players who I think is a little bit of an enigma with Portugal because I was watching the highlights of the final again the other day, and he's just so good. He dictates everything. He is the perfect player for Paris Saint-Germain. He makes it all tick. He makes it all work. But something about the way that the Portuguese national team works doesn't allow him to be at his best. And when they are in controlling games, which they do for PSG, he's running a lot more. And all of a sudden, his deficiencies start to show a little bit. So Vitinha in the PSG context is perfect. But in the Portugal context, and we didn't quite see it at this tournament. I thought coming into it, they played Spain in the last 16. I really thought that they could really give that Spain midfield a run for their money. They really didn't. Spain ultimately controlled that game. I think Vitinha gets a little bit docked because of that. Okay,
so he goes from number 2 to number 8 on your updated Ballon d'Or rankings. We go to number 7. I feel like Haaland is everyone in America's number 1 if they understood, what the impact. But number 7, what a great year. Just a pure striker from Haaland and capturing the hearts of fans as well.
And when you're talking about a team that makes a surprise run to a quarterfinal, him being the leading goal scorer, him being, as you say, sort of this worldwide celebrity now, which is one of those things where it's shocking to me because I'm a football fan. I watch this guy every week. I've been watching this guy for years. I knew who he was, but the number of people that didn't know who he was and now are discovering this amazing star. But it's easy to forget, even though Manchester City didn't win any major silverware, that Erling Haaland led the Premier League in goals with 27. And the fact that we don't talk about him in higher regard is us judging him against his standard rather than saying, oh my God, a guy scored 27 goals in the Premier League. Are you kidding? Never mind adding what he did in the World Cup. So he was off my ballot before because Manchester City didn't win anything, but because of the World Cup that he had, because the way that he put that nation on his shoulders that hadn't even been to the World Cup since '98, got them all the way to a quarterfinal, move him up to 7.
Yeah, I wish he was not on the list at all as an Arsenal fan because he scores all those goals against us, but I digress. Number 7 on Witty's list here. At number 6, Michael Olise, the guy who was supposed to win it June 2nd, according to you, and now 6th.
I love him. I really do love Michael Olise. He's a brilliant player, and it just goes to show, again, high standards. Leads the World Cup in assists. And yet I have him dropping down 5 spots. That's because ultimately in the biggest game that we saw from them against Spain, but I think in the overall in this tournament, we didn't see his best. We didn't see his best at this World Cup because, for whatever reason, fit. They had to bring him from the right into the inside. Then in that semifinal, they brought him back out to the right. And he just could never grow into that game. And I don't think ever really settled into a main man role for France. Good player, obviously led the team in assists, had some brilliant passes at this tournament, and I still absolutely love him as a player. But in terms of what he delivered, he under-delivered to me relative to expectations, and France under-delivered relative to expectations. So I dropped him down to 6.
They will be playing in that 3rd place match. Up until this point, Chris, we have not seen a player in the final represented. That changes at number 5 with Lamine Yamal.
Yeah, and this is one where Spain, this will be a fascinating one, the actual voting for the award if Spain go on to win it. Because I don't think unless Lamine Yamal has a hat trick in the final or has a really good performance, scores a couple goals, and you see this sort of obvious impact from the best player in the World Cup final, I don't think he deserves to win the award even if Spain win the World Cup because he wasn't good at this tournament. And we saw some shortcomings in the Champions League. We saw some shortcomings in some other areas, had some injuries this season. I don't think this was Lamine Yamal's best season of his short career, and yet we're going to give him the Ballon d'Or for it. So I just think that he is in that number 5 position, having had a great season and having been a part of a Spain run to the World Cup final, wins the penalty for the first goal, has been okay in the last few games, but I think in terms of star-making, star-winning, Ballon d'Or winning performance, I don't think that's what we saw from him at this World Cup. So I have him at number 5. If he has a good performance in the final, can go all the way up.
Yeah, so I was going to say, always room to grow. And again, he's got plenty of time ahead of him to build on that legacy, as we talked earlier in the show. Number 4, a player not represented in this World Cup, but still a lot of fun to say, Vichka Kvaratskhelia.
Yeah, and this is one where, again, we overvalue the World Cup. Vichka Kvaratskhelia scored in every round of the knockout round. He was absolutely brilliant for PSG. Don't forget about him just because you feel bad for him. Georgia are going to have a hard time qualifying for World Cups. They got into the last Euros and actually did reasonably well, but it's difficult for him to star for his country. So I think he absolutely still deserves the recognition. He actually holds at exactly the position that I left him at pre-tournament. So I think this is, for me, valuing the Champions League, what he did throughout the club season, and saying, I'm not going to dock a guy just because he didn't play in the World Cup because his nation isn't quite of the level of qualifying out of Europe, one of the most difficult places to qualify from in the world. So I keep him at number 4, and he deserves to be.
I was going to say, that goes to show how much respect he has, not only from analysts like you and I, but also around the world. He stays at number 4 based on everything that we've seen in this World Cup. All right, let's get into the top 3 here. Going to get kind of spicy. Another Frenchman represented here at number 3, Kylian Mbappe here, Chris.
Yeah, and this is one where I think he would be the odds-on favorite if France went on to win it. If he performed well in that semifinal against Spain, he might even still have a shout because, again, we talked about the sort of lack of that individual for Spain. But I think Mbappe was absolutely stunning at this World Cup. He deserves every bit of the praise that he gets in the French national team shirt. I think, again, even if Spain go on to win it, and let's say he'd won the Champions League or even won La Liga, he's put up the individual numbers for club and for country to be right up there to go and win this award, even if Spain went on to win it. But because there is a trophy in his silverware cabinet at the end of the season, I think 3 is his ceiling, even though he was absolutely, I think, the best player that we saw at this World Cup. It just didn't happen for him in the semifinal, and I think we have 2 players that are slightly above him.
Yes, we do. And this is where it gets interesting. The top 2, at number 2, Harry Kane, who many thought, based on his season in the Bundesliga, he would be the guy to win this award. Before we talk about number 1, let's talk about number 2.
Yeah, and again, I think if you go back to just the World Cup, Jude Bellingham at number 9 would be above him. But because Harry Kane put together such an absolutely insane season of goal scoring in the Bundesliga, his goal scoring is into the 60s. He scored multiple goals in this World Cup. He did his job. He scored that brilliant goal against DR Congo. But I think he probably is liable to fall back as well, depending on what happens in this final. But I think what Kane delivered throughout this season is absolutely extraordinary. He had a decent World Cup, if not a great World Cup, so I can't really dock him too much. So I think based off of what he showed through the full 12 months, he deserves to be number 2.
Of course, he took to social media to let everybody know he's going to evaluate what his future looks like in an international soccer. We all know who number 1 is on this list, Whitney.
Yeah.
He goes from not being on the list at all to number 1 in your final Ballon d'Or ranking. It's just the legacy of Lionel Messi.
I know I talked about not overweighting the World Cup, but I think the reason why you wouldn't put him in the top 10 before is because he's playing in Major League Soccer. You don't have that means of comparing what he does week in, week out. By the way, I added up the numbers. Between club and country, since the start of this voting period, which is August the 1st, 45 goals, 28 assists in all competitions for club and country. Leads Inter Miami to an MLS Cup. But we're not talking about MLS Cup. We're talking about the World Cup, where he has shown up and been the star. The players talk about him as the emotional leader, the inspirational leader, and the player who delivers over and over again for the national team. He showed it against England. If the World Cup ended today and Argentina go on to win it, he's absolutely the Ballon d'Or winner. He delivered at this tournament over and over and over again when his country needed him the most. And if they win back-to-back World Cups, it's because of him and him only, and he remains the best player in the world, which is stunning to say at 39, which is stunning to say with a physical drop-off. He actually isn't really physically the same guy.
Yeah.
He still is. He has a few moments like, oh, he's 39. But you don't think that often, and he still had some England defenders on skates. He does that thing where he backs into Harry Kane, throws his butt out, and is able to ride out the challenge. It was extraordinary what we've seen from him at this World Cup. He's still the best player. So I have to put him number 1, especially if Argentina go on to win it. He is nailed on to win this award.
As we put a bow on it, flip it. If Spain wins, how do these change?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't think you can give it to Messi if they don't win, just because, again, he's not playing at the highest level of the club game. I think, yeah, it's probably Harry Kane, just in terms of combining performance of the 2. But I have no idea. I feel bad for the actual voters of the Ballon d'Or. I'm just a guy here on the CBS Sports Golazo Network. The people with the actual ballots have a very difficult time, I think, if Argentina don't win this final.
It's nice that you get to take a second and reevaluate your list from a month ago, give us the updated, all the things that we like to do here at the Golazo Network. That's Chris Whittingham. I'm Haley Sutton. This has been so much fun here on Scoreline. We've got more Golazo Network coming up after the break.
At the start of every year, I find myself wondering again, constantly questioning life's mysteries. Could I make it in the UFC octagon?
When Jeff Probst asks survivors, ready?
Do they ever want to say no? Has Dexter ever considered meditation? Will Beth and Rip make it last on the new